Hello everyone. Today we will talk about the particular features of the articulated foot. First we will see the attachment in the talus and the calcaneum. First of all we will talk about the talus. So talus is the second largest tarsal bone, and you have to remember that the talus has no muscular attachment. There is no any muscle attached to the talus. Only ligaments are attached. Sorry. So we'll talk about the attachment of the ligaments on the talus. So you know this is the head of the talus, this is neck, and this is the body. This is trochlear surface, this is medial side, this is the lateral side, and this is the inferior aspect. On the anterior part of the dorsal surface, we have here attachment of the capsular ligament of the ankle joint, and anterior to that we'll have attachment of, say, this is the right sided of the talus and calcaneum, and this is the left sided of the articulated foot. Here you can see this is the talus and this is the navicular bone. So attachment anterior to the capsular ligament of ankle joint, we have attachment of the dorsal talonavicular ligament. Now on the lateral aspect of the talus, at the lateral side of the neck, we have attachment of the anterior. On the lateral side, we have articulation of the fibula. So we have a talofibular ligament, anterior talofibular ligament on the lateral side of the neck. And the rough area behind the triangular articulated area, here we have attachment of the posterior talofibular ligament. And below that, on the plantar aspect, we have posterior talocalcanean ligament. Now we'll talk about the medial aspect. So the non-articular area below the comma-shaped facet, here we have attachment of the anteriorly we have deep fibers of the deltoid ligament, and posteriorly we have superficial fibers of the deltoid ligament. Deep fibers of deltoid ligament is also named as anterior. See, this is the medial side. So here we have articulation of the medial malleolus of the tibia. So this deep fibers of deltoid ligament is also known as anterior tibiotalar ligament, and the superficial fibers of deltoid ligament is the posterior tibiotalar ligament. So this is anterior and posterior tibiotalar ligaments. Now on the inferior aspect, we have learned that this is the sinus tarsi, okay, and along with this this is the sulcus talli, and along with the sulcus calcaneus it will form the sinus tarsi, and that will give attachment to the two ligaments. One will be the interosseous talocalcanean ligament, and we have a cervical ligament. So on this side, only attachment of the two ligaments, you have to remember that cervical ligament and interosseous talocalcanean ligament. So these are the attachments on the talus. Now we'll see attachment on the calcaneum. Okay, now you can see this is the dorsal surface, this is anterior aspect, this is posterior, this is medial where we have a sustentaculum talli, and this is the lateral aspect. Now on the dorsal aspect, we have seen these are the articular areas and this is the non-articular area. Again it will give attachment to interosseous talocalcanean ligament and cervical ligament. This is the rough area on the posterior 1/3 of the dorsal surface, and this is the posterior surface that was divided into the three parts, upper, middle and the lower. So upper part is related to the bursa, middle part will give attachment to the tendocalcaneus, and the plantaris medially. Here it will give attachment to tendocalcaneus and plantaris. It will give attachment to the plantaris, and the lower area that will be related to the fibrofatty tissue. Now this is the lateral surface of the calcaneum where we have seen this peroneal trochlea. Okay, so you can see above the trochlea and below the trochlea we have a grooves. Above the tubercle or the trochlea, there passes the tendon of peroneus brevis muscle, and below the tubercle there passes the tendon of peroneus longus muscle. and itself the trochlea, peroneal trochlea will give attachment to the inferior peroneal retinaculum. Now 1 centimeter behind the peroneal trochlea we have attachment of posterior calcaneofibular ligament. Okay, so this is on the lateral side. Now on the medial side you can see this is a sustentaculum tali. Here we have a grooved part beneath the sustentaculum tali. It will pass the tendon of flexor hallucis longus muscle, and the area below the sustentaculum tali, this much area, will give origin to medial head of flexor digitorum accessorius muscle. This much area will give origin to the medial head of flexor digitorum accessorius muscle. Now on the sustentaculum tali. Sustentaculum tali is divided into anterior, middle and the posterior part. Anterior part, that will give attachment to the spring ligament. The middle part will receive the insertion of tibialis posterior tendon, and in the whole of the length of sustentaculum tali it will give attachment to the superficial fibers of deltoid ligament. Superficial fibers of the deltoid ligament to the whole extent of the sustentaculum tali. In the anterior part only spring ligament, and in the middle part it receives a slip from the tibialis posterior tendon. And the margin of the sustentaculum tali is related to the flexor digitorum longus tendon. Now on the plantar aspect. Okay, so here you can see this is the medial tubercle, this is lateral tubercle, this is the anterior tubercle. Now medial tubercle gives origin to the abductor hallucis muscle. Abductor hallucis muscle. It also gives attachment to the flexor retinaculum. On the medial side it gives attachment to flexor retinaculum. Here it also gives attachment to the plantar aponeurosis and origin to flexor digitorum brevis. Origin to the flexor digitorum brevis muscle. Now this is a lateral tubercle. It will give origin to abductor digiti minimi muscle. So medial tubercle as well as lateral tubercle will give attachment to the abductor hallucis on medial side, abductor digiti minimi on the lateral side. Additionally, on the medial tubercle, flexor retinaculum, plantar aponeurosis and flexor digitorum brevis. Now this is the anterior tubercle. This anterior tubercle gives attachment to short plantar ligament. This gives attachment to short plantar ligament, and the area between the three tubercles, this much area between the three tubercle, that will give attachment to the long plantar ligament. This will give attachment to long plantar ligament. So this was all about the attachment regarding calcaneum. Now we will see the attachments on the rest of the tarsal bones on the articulated foot. So we have seen the talus and calcaneum, and this is the navicular bone. You can see that on the medial side of the bone we have a tuberosity. Okay, this is broken over here, but we have a tuberosity of the navicular bone that receives principal insertion of the tibialis posterior muscle. And on the plantar aspect, behind the tuberosity we have a groove, and that groove passes the tendon of the tibialis posterior muscle, and it will give slips to the rest of the bones on the plantar aspect. Now on the plantar posterior part of the navicular bone, here we have attachment of plantar calcaneonavicular ligament. This is a plantar calcaneonavicular ligament on the plantar aspect. On the dorsal aspect of the navicular bone we have attachment of, here we have seen the dorsal talonavicular ligament, then we have a cuneonavicular ligaments, and we have a cubonavicular ligaments on the dorsal aspect of the navicular bone. Now about the three cuneiform bones. So on the plantar aspect of the cuneiform bones, you can see here this is the base of the base of the medial cuneiform bone. and these are the edges of the intermediate and the lateral cuneiform bones. On the medial cuneiform bone, see, this is the medial aspect. So this is the infromedial part and this will be the inferolateral part. In your book it is written anteromedial angle on the medial side and anterolateral angle on the lateral side. So that is same. Okay, so this is the medial side and this is the lateral side of the medial cuneiform bone. Same on the base of the first metatarsal bone on the medial as well as on the lateral side. It will receive insertion. Okay, on the medial side it will receive insertion of the tibialis anterior muscle. On the inferior angle on the lateral side it will receive the insertion of the peroneus longus muscle. So here we have attachment of tibialis anterior, on the lateral side we have attachment of peroneus longus. Now on the plantar aspect and on the posterior side it will receive one slip from the tibialis posterior muscle. The intermediate as well as the lateral cuneiform bone on the plantar aspect it will receive only the slips from the tibialis posterior muscle. Now the cuboid bone. So this is a cuboid bone. On the lateral side you can see this is notched. Okay, and that notch will continue on the plantar aspect, and this is the groove. That groove lodges the tendon of peroneus longus muscle, and behind the groove we have a oblique ridge over here. This oblique ridge will give attachment to the long plantar ligament, and on the posterior aspect of the cuboid bone here it will give attachment to the short plantar ligament. So on the plantar aspect of the cuboid bone, here there is a passage of tendon of peroneus longus. Behind the groove we have attachment of long plantar ligament. On the posterior aspect of the plantar surface gives attachment to the short plantar ligament, and from the plantar surface of the cuboid bone it also gives origin to the lateral head of the flexor hallucis brevis muscle. Flexor hallucis brevis muscle. This will be the lateral head, and the medial head of the flexor hallucis brevis will be the continuation of tendon of the tibialis posterior muscle. Now about the metatarsal bones. So these are the 5 metatarsals from the medial to lateral side. Okay, and we'll see the attachments over the metatarsal bones. First we'll see attachment on the plantar aspects. So on the plantar aspect of the base of the first metatarsal we have attachment on the medial side of tibialis anterior, on the lateral side of the peroneus longus. Okay, and this first and fifth metatarsal also receives the slips from the tendon of tibialis posterior muscle, but not second, third and fourth. The second, third and the fourth metatarsal bone at the bases of the second, third and fourth metatarsal bones, it gives origin to the oblique head of adductor hallucis muscle, and they do not receive the slip from the tibialis posterior muscle. That you have to remember. Now on the in the plantar surface of the fifth metatarsal bone, here you can see, here we have one groove. That groove passes the tendon of abductor digiti minimi muscle, and the plantar aspect of the base of fifth metatarsal bone, it gives origin to flexor digiti minimi brevis muscle. Flexor digiti minimi brevis muscle. Now on the dorsal aspect of the fifth metatarsal bone, on the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal bone, it receives insertion of peroneus brevis muscle, and on the medial side of the base as well as on the medial side of the shaft of the fifth metatarsal bone, it receives insertion of peroneus tertius muscle. So here we have insertion of the peroneus tertius muscle, and here we have insertion of peroneus brevis muscle. On the groove on the plantar aspect, that gives passage to abductor digiti minimi and gives origin to flexor digiti minimi brevis muscle. Now we'll see the attachments on the phalanges. See, before that there are three lumbricals for the second, third and fourth metatarsal bones, and lumbricals will be attached on the medial side. Okay, it will be on the medial side of the metatarsal bones, and dorsal interossei are 4 and plantar interossei are 3. Dorsal interossei will be originating from the adjacent shafts of all the metatarsal bones. Okay, and the plantar interossei will be attached on the medial sides of the shaft of the lateral 3 metatarsal bone, that will be the third, fourth and the fifth metatarsal bone. Now the second metatarsal act as the axis, so it is already taken as adducted, so it will be having the 2 dorsal interossei muscle and 2 dorsal interossei for the second metatarsal, and the rest of the 2 will be for the third and the fourth metatarsal bones. Okay, the great toe as well as the little toe having the separate abductors, so they do not need the dorsal interossei. And for the great toe, we have already talked about the oblique head of adductor hallucis arises from the base of second, third, fourth metatarsal bone, and we have a deep head arising from the deep transverse metatarsal ligaments. Okay, so the great toe is having adductor hallucis separately. The second toe is already taken as adducted, so third, fourth and the fifth toe will be having the plantar interossei. So plantar interossei will be attached on the medial side of shaft of the lateral 3 metatarsal bones. Okay, now on the proximal phalanges. See, we'll talk about the proximal phalanges of the lateral 4 toes. So on the basis of the proximal phalanges, on the medial side we have insertion of the lumbricals for the second, third and fourth metatarsal bones. On the proximal phalanges, we'll have attachment of lumbricals on the medial side, and we will have attachment of the interossei on both the sides. Lumbricals will be attached on the medial side of the base of the proximal phalanges, and interossei will be attached on each side of the base of the proximal phalanges. On the fifth toe, on the medial side, we have attachment of only plantar interossei. Here we have attachment of the insertion of the plantar interossei. On the lateral side of the proximal phalanx of the fifth toe, we will have insertion of abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi brevis. Abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi brevis on the lateral side. On the medial side of the proximal phalanx for the fifth toe, we have insertion of the plantar interossei muscle. For the great toe, this is the medial side and this is the lateral side. Okay, so on the medial side, we have an insertion of, here we have abductor hallucis muscle, and we have a medial head of the flexor hallucis brevis muscle. See, we have seen abductor hallucis muscle, that is the first layer of the sole, and we have a flexor hallucis brevis muscle having the two heads. One will be the medial, that is direct continuation from the tibialis posterior. One will be the lateral, that arises from the cuboid. So both the heads, medial head of flexor hallucis brevis attached on medial side of base of the proximal phalanx. On the lateral side, we have insertion of lateral head of flexor hallucis brevis muscle. Same, along with the medial head, we have insertion of the abductor hallucis. Along with the lateral head of the flexor hallucis brevis, we have attachment of the adductor hallucis. Now, on the distal phalanx for the great toe, so on the dorsal aspect, we have a insertion of the extensor hallucis longus. On the plantar aspect, we have insertion of the flexor hallucis longus muscle. On the dorsal surfaces of the middle phalanges of the lateral four toes. See, this is the proximal, this is middle, and this is the distal phalanx. On the sides of the middle phalanges, okay, on the plantar aspect will receive the tendons from the flexor digitorum brevis muscle. On the dorsal aspect, it gives attachment to extensor expansion. Same on the dorsal aspect of the distal phalanx, it receives the dorsal digital expansion, extensor expansion. And on the plantar aspect, the base of the distal phalanx will receive the tendon from the flexor digitorum longus muscle for the lateral four toes. So dorsal aspect of middle as well as distal phalanx receive insertion in the extensor expansion, and on the plantar aspect, on the sides of the middle phalanx receive insertion from the flexor digitorum brevis muscle. On the distal phalanges, it receives the tendons from the flexor digitorum longus muscle. So this was all about the attachments, about the particular features regarding articulated foot.